G'day listeners and welcome to another episode of the Scouting Australia podcast powered by Australian Property Scout Buyers Agency. I'm your host, Sammy Gordon, and today guys, Jimmy and I, we're back. First episode back. Jimmy has an extremely fresh haircut. I thought they would have put at least a little bit of dye in there, mate. But mate, you're back up in the GC. How are you, buddy?
Mate,
first episode back.
It is good to be back. G'day everybody. Hope you had a great break. Even though we're in the middle of February, it feels like we haven't even been on holiday. Unlike you, who seems to be on the endless holiday. Everyone in the studio is like, where is he now? Is he back in town? Is he in Dubai? Is he in the Maldives? Where the hell is he? If he's not down at the local TAV getting on it on a Saturday night.
The pokies, mate. Pokies. A cheeky snitty
with his speedy sunnies on.
The speed dealers, the D-Town starter kit.
Mate, you've had a great start to the year. You've been on a bit of a break. Well deserved.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it, man. We was a pretty hectic run all the way up until Chrissy Eve. Worked pretty much all the way till Chrissy Eve, and then man, I took a couple of weeks off, kind of came back mid-Jan and decided, you know what, I'm going to shoot off again, man. So I shot over to Japan for 10 days of boarding. Went with Brendo too, man. It was sick, dude. It was good to have a bit of a break. I needed the recharge. It was funny. I kind of came back that mid-Jan sort of time. I just didn't feel ready. I wasn't really, excited to get back into it. I was like, I'm not ready right now. So yeah, man, decided to shoot off and have a little bit more fun. But man, I'm feeling good. Come back in a big way, feeling mad, man. So we're ready for a big year at APS and Scouting Australia and everything else we're doing as well, man.
I love it. So, one quick question for you before we get stuck into this. I did check my phone.
Yes.
And there was no message or phone call for the Japan trip.
Yes.
I heard it was a sales conference or a, what do you call it? I don't know what you call it, but nothing on my phone.
Yeah, right.
So is there...
Liam got an invite. Lukey got an invite. I think Cole's got an invite.
Gee, how far down the Rolodex am I? Holy,
You're not even on
I'm not even on the favourites list. What a dog. What a dog.
I actually did call you.
No, you didn't.
Weren't you in South America or some shit?
Oh, here we go. South out of all places.
I swear I did ask you about it.
Nah.
Did I not?
Well, true Sammy Gordon style, it would have been about 5 minutes before he jumped on the plane. Did you want to come? I'll get a car for you.
Funnily enough,
Thanks for the notice.
Funnily enough, Brendo calls me 6 hours before I was going to leave for the airport. He's like, oh, what are you up to, bro? I said, I'm just packing for Japan. He's like, what? Where are you going to Japan? I go, yeah. And he goes, oh, who are you going with? That's mad. I said, I'll just come by myself. He goes, what? He goes, oh, mate, if you want any company, he goes, I don't want to impose on you, but you want any company. Yeah, so maybe you should pick up the phone a little bit more, you dog. Maybe you reached out 5 hours before you got an invite. Yeah, dirty dog.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, 6 hours. He's driving back from Tamworth, got back, had 2 hours to pack, put it all together, was at mine at, I think it was 9 o'clock. We left at 9:30, boarded the flight at 12:30
no one's got any sympathy for you.
I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm rubbing it in your face. Make that dirty dog a bit dirtier.
We actually said before this episode, we've got to keep it snappy 30 minutes. We've already wasted 10 minutes talking crap. What a way to start the year.
It was on a highlight reel of my gallivanting around the world. But no, it was good, man. It was good. It was fun. And yeah, mate, I thought I invited you. I don't care that I didn't. It was amazing because you weren't there. You know what? I did. And you go, nah, bro, you just enjoy the peace on the mountain. I remember I did ask you. You wrote that back.
This is when you were going to go on your own. I said, this is good for you to have a bit of a chill time. I was going
to. Brendo called and said, oh, if you want to come. You could have done the call. You know the way I would have.
Oh, God. Nah, I thought you needed some time on your own.
Mr. Brennan Gagan, the
shout out to Brendo.
of opportunistic.
Head of opportunities.
Head of opportunities at School of Property. And Fugazi.com. All right, guys, today's episode is all about Mr. Jimmy Ibrahim. Mate, your episode is the highest download episode on the Scouting Australia podcast. I believe you put the homework pack together for new clients coming in and put it as the homework that listeners have to listen to it.
The only one.
Albeit, yes, it is the only mandatory podcast everyone has to listen to 3 times before they can book in a call with Jimmy. But hey, mate, you got there however you got there. But today we're doing a recap. There's been a lot of people asking for the recap of your own portfolio as well. They want to know, is Jimmy like dust in the wind, dead and gone and buried, or is he back? Has he been kicking on in a big way? And mate, that's what we're here to talk about today. We're going to recap on the portfolio that was. And mate, it's been 2.5 years. It was August 2023 since we recorded that episode. Mate, how's it feel since then?
It's been interesting, actually. I love a bit of notice, and that's definitely not what you provide. So this morning I got the heads up probably about an hour ago that we're going to do this. So it's fine.
Bro, I emailed it to you yesterday.
Well, unlike
and texted you this morning.
Some other people have other things other than waiting for your email to do
what
on
else
a
are you
day.
Doing? Cooking baklava? Eating Lebanese sweets? What are you doing?
I know that might be a surprise to you. However, so today I have gone through very quickly to figure out where the hell we are. And it has been a journey. And you know what? This is going to sound really odd because, and this is not being ungrateful in any way. But when I've written this out, I see so much wasted opportunity, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell was I doing during these periods where I was doing nothing in 2022, 2023? It sort of feels like when I look back, I missed a whole bunch of opportunities, and that's not meant to sound ungrateful because I've definitely made up for it in 2024 and beyond. But you can't help but feel critical when you're looking at your own portfolio to think to yourself, if only I did this and that, then things would have changed. So, but in saying that, it has been one hell of a ride. I was trying to scramble together some basic lessons on where it is, because the numbers are one thing, but actually going through it is a different thing. And actually, before we even go into the numbers, I might as well share this right off the top, because I caught myself out last week complaining about my portfolio. Not to you, because you never answer your phone, but I was
there's a bit of a track record here. I've got the two producers in the studio, both smirking, going, Jimmy, complaining.
Oh, that is unlike me.
Fucking hell.
Kelly, the producer, knows, and Justin knows. He's never even heard me complain. Hasn't hung around long enough.
He's about to hear firsthand what it's like working with Jimmy Ibrahim.
However, I did catch myself out.
Strut your way in here. Because let's record the podcast. We heard you outside trying to negotiate with someone, being Italian Lebanese upbringing or some bullshit.
We have 30 minutes.
Yeah,
we have 30. Oh, don't get me started on that property. Do not get me started on that property. It's a homage to my ancestry. There is an Italian masterpiece sitting in an atrium in the middle of one of the properties that I bought. God forbid, if I had visited that property, I wouldn't have bought it.
You bought something with an atrium?
Yes, it has an atrium.
Really?
This must have been some type of, I'm going to say the word porn, but it must have been in the 70s and 80s in this regional area. It must have been, because the way the decor and inside the house, it's like built around, it's sort of almost like an octagon, and there's an atrium which had a spa and another fountain with all of I thought this was the Trevi Fountain in this regional location. I thought, holy shit, I might start selling tickets.
Is this? I think we should call Big Steve Ibrahim. Is this where little Jimmy Ibrahim was conceived? I reckon it could be.
Well, if Steve needs he needs a vest, he needs a bulletproof car before he drives out to this location. So anyway, I caught myself out because there's been, Sammy, as you know, well, you used to know, when you've got a large portfolio and you're dealing with everything, there's a lot of crap you got to deal with. And with the snowball effect of dealing with multiple like issues, air conditioners, there's a reno going on. There's probably 3 renos at the moment. There's things breaking down. There's constant maintenance requests. And I just caught myself, and cash flow's tight. I'm flying very close to the sun at the moment.
We kept rejecting commercial deals, so that makes sense why.
I'm flying very close. You might have to buy me lunch today because I don't think I can scrape together the $5 for one of those Sambos. But I caught myself and thought, no one is forcing you to do this. Stop carrying on. Stop sooking. This is meant to be bloody difficult. And I did have a few moments where I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I just want to sell everything. Why don't I just sell everything, consolidate everything, get some commercial properties, just sit and just chill and just, enjoy it. And yeah, I had to catch myself out because I thought so many people would love to be in this position and no one's forcing you to do this. This isn't you have to, you get to. And so I suppose, just when I was writing some of the notes, I thought this is a really important point to share with people, that none of this is owed to any of us. And if you want something more meaningful, or you want to contribute more, or you want to have more to give, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to be prepared to do the shitty things. And there's a lot of shit with only a little bit of sunshine. So at the moment, I feel like I'm right in the depths of all the crap dealing with, because it's sort of that point where the tipping point where there's a lot of shit going on. For sure. And that's on the side of doing what you normally do during the day, which is your job or your business, or, it's on top of. So I just find that I'm scrambling at the moment, but it is okay. Just got to hold tight, and eventually the tide will turn, I'm sure. And you go to new levels. So you create more capacity, which is being vulnerable. That's where I'm at right now. It feels like I'm up against it, trying to think of where the hell am I going to get that money from?
It's very normal, man, because I think the time and the window you've gone through, like if you accumulate an extra 20 properties in a little bit over 2 years, and so often when you buy those properties, man, like the first 6 to 12 months is always the most difficult because almost always, man, especially if it's been an owner that's owned a property for, let's say 10 years, they bought it at the top of the last cycle, they haven't made any money. Normally the last 2 to 5 years, they've tried to avoid putting any money they can into that property, right? And a lot of the time the maintenance goes to waste. That's why we always walk into a deal with a maintenance buffer. On every single deal we buy, no matter if it's 2 years old, 20 years old, 80 years old, doesn't matter what it is, we always do a maintenance buffer relevant to what we think is going to be spent on that property to bring it back up to that initial scratch, which it might not be much in the initial building and pest, but in the first 6 to 12 months, you typically find it. The issue is that you've just accumulated over 20 properties in this time frame, and you're copying all those 6 to 12 month windows all at the exact same time. And a lot of the time with different property managers that you haven't built relationships with yet, that don't know how to work with you, that you don't know how to work with yet. You don't know who's the ones that are trying on, just, taking the piss, taking it easy. And the difference is, and a lot of people feel this in their first 1, 2, 3, 4 properties when they go through that first, typically like 1 to 5 property stretch in the first 2 years. You get a lot of people who feel exactly the same because they're on top of the world, they strip some equity, they buy another one, they strip some equity, they buy another one. All of a sudden they're having this bit of a snowball. But then all of a sudden they're managing 5 properties. A lot of the time, they might have 3 to 5 different property managers across that as well. And they realize that it's not just all sunshine and rainbows. There is the legitimate part of dealing with people and dealing with bricks and mortar as well, weatherboard and mortar, whatever. Like they're dealing with an actual real asset here with tenants in the thing that are going to complain about shit. And then with property managers as well who don't get paid enough for what they do and are just trying to get things done as quick and easy as they possibly can too. So, man, you've gone through this massive window of accumulation over the last couple of years, plus obviously, the 10 properties plus additional rentals on the ones you had before, before the last 2 years since the last podcast as well. So it's like, man, you're going to have this hyper exposure to a lot of properties in that piece. But I love that you brought that up and you had to catch yourself out with it because it's something that a lot of people go through. I went through it, at different phases when, I kind of went from buying 2 a year to 4 a year to 6 a year to 10 a year. Then all of a sudden you're like, fuck, man, the weight of this thing is massive and it like starts to blow your head up. But you start to get conditioned to it over time as well. And I think one of the easiest things that I started doing was I started having a bit of a disconnect with it. And I started looking at it as business and not as, getting emotional about it as well. And I think when you can look at it like that and start realizing you have to treat your portfolio unemotionally, it has to be treated like a business. And if someone's trying to take the piss, you have to pull them up. If someone's genuinely trying to do a good job or whatever, like you will learn, but it takes time to learn that as well. And then the time comes where you start to consolidate property managers. And again, it gets easier and you fix the things that, were dilapidated over the last 5 years. And, over the first 6 to 12 months, you start to fix those things and that starts to eradicate out as well. So it's one of these things, man. Like I managed my own portfolio till I hit 54 properties.
Yeah, wow.
And then I hired an EA that started managing that portfolio for me. And then it actually, because I stopped buying for 6 months. I didn't buy for 6 months because it became such a headache trying to manage this thing. And that's 54 properties plus grannies and whatnot as well, right? That's 54 individual titles. And man, I remember it was just like this cascading avalanche. It just snowballed into just absolute head fuckery is the easiest way to put it, of this constant thing smashing me. Because I did about 15, 20 deals in a year. And I did that for 2 years straight. And then, yeah, man, I just realized, look, I have to treat this thing like a business. It's producing, I was probably making 3-4 mil a year in equity. What was another wage of X amount to manage that, plus be able to pick up other things in the business as well. Started treating it really like a business and stopped being emotional about it. And I haven't been stressed about the portfolio since then. I'm very unemotional about it. I cut things easily if I need to cut things. I fix what I need to fix. I just say no when I need to say no. And man, I feel like you've just, that feedback you said just then, and I think you need to keep conditioning yourself. This is the way you need to start looking at it. That's the most important thing to do, is treat it like a business and just keep pushing forward unemotionally on the portfolio.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Which is hard to do. It takes time and resilience and perseverance to build to this size portfolio about to run through here as well. But it's one of those things, man, like this is where so many people cap out at 1 to 2 properties because they start getting a few little headaches. It's like, hang on a sec. Well, if that makes $100,000 a year, just growing there on the side. Okay, you had 5 of them, it's $500,000 a year. You might make $100,000-$200,000 in your job. You're never going to be able to replicate that in the job. It's almost impossible, right?
Yeah.
For the little bit of extra headache, you got to realize it's a business, treat it on the side and let it do its thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're spot on, Sammy. 100%. Well, let's jump into it. How do you want to go about this?
I think what I want to do is I want to recap. So I'll do a summary of the portfolio, which was last done in August in 2023. So 2.5 years ago, pretty much. Dude, so almost to the day where we're 3 days off 2.5 years exactly.
Yeah, wow.
It was August, 14th of August. This was dropped 2.5 years ago. So mate, 10 property portfolio at the time, 6.5 mil value, debt at 4 mil. So net equity at that time of $2.5 million. Now you owned a lot of properties in Brisbane, you owned a lot of properties in Perth, and a lot of properties in regional Australia that you were going through accumulation at that time as well. But obviously, we had picked up a lot of properties in those different markets at the time, which have gone through and done 150+%, some of them 200% since then as well. So I'm keen to sort of dissect a bit of that with you, but that's a bit of a summary on what it was. But mate, what I'd love to do now, I'm not going to obviously go through each individual deal. There's also no real point in it because there's not the negotiation journey that you'd be able to walk us through with it. But man, I'd love to know, where are we sitting at now? Number of properties, number of rentals is probably where I'd start.
Yep. Total properties, we're sitting at 31.
Yep.
Actually, 3 of them, there's a few of them that are purchased. They're just waiting to settle.
Okay.
So that'll be 31, including the primary residence as well, right?
Yep.
Rentals, that would be, there's 4 grannies, so that'll be 34.
35.
Well, there's one that's not rental.
Oh, rentals. Yeah, sorry.
So rentals is
35 total portfolio.
Yeah. So total 35.
Yeah.
In terms of total val, it's probably sitting at around just under 22 mil.
Wow. You've gone from 6.5 to 22 mil. How much, when you say just under, are we rounding up by 900,000 here or rounding up by
just by a couple hundred?
Okay. So
to make it easy.
Make it easy.
Yeah.
All right. 22 mil. Debt level?
Sitting at just under 14 mil.
Just under 14 mil. Okay, sweet. So net equity of circa $8 million.
Roughly, yeah. Give or take a few pennies.
Mate, you've more than tripled your net equity position. And it's a considerable amount with it too. And you've more than tripled your portfolio value too. Man, that's massive. How does that feel?
It's interesting. When you're writing them down, I think the context of seeing it on paper is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I mean, it feels great. Don't get me wrong. I never would have thought 5 years ago when I met you that I would have over 30 properties. And let's not mistake ourselves. This is not about the number of properties. It's about what do we need to do in order to get to the goal that we ultimately want. Yeah. At the moment, it's just about heavy accumulation. But I mean, there's significant amount of pride, obviously, to achieve something like this. It's given a lot of opportunities for me to do a lot of things. And I think, it's ironic when I look back when we had bought even 5, but probably 10 properties or just under 10 properties, the calmness of knowing that I was going to actually achieve my financial goals was already there. I just hadn't done it yet because I knew the blueprint and the roadmap, and that was through working with you. So I explain that to people on the phone, and it's very hard for them to get their head around because you hear a lot of people doing certain things, but you don't really understand how it's done. And until you start getting some traction in your own portfolio, the penny starts to drop. And then all of a sudden there's a sense of calm that you go, holy shit, that's exactly how you do it. And then it just becomes a game of actually just executing. And so do I feel better now? Well, yes, because I'm achieving a lot of things. There's a lot of stress on the back of it and there's a lot of pressure on the back of it. But on the flip side, some of me feels like I'm only even just getting started. I feel like I'm sort of only scratching the surface as to what's really possible. And there's also an element of me that, starts to question, what the hell are you doing this for? How many do you need? What is the goal? And so I've started, even over the summer, I started to think about, well, maybe I could go out, last year in 2025, I bought 12 properties. And that was a massive milestone. That's and that wasn't easy. That was bloody hard. And I scraped together every single cent that I had, and I was borrowing money from releasing equity and I was pulling every cent that I had. Yeah. And it was bloody hard, and it was definitely pushing to the limit. And then I thought this year, do I want to do that again? And I think I might have, after speaking with you, I don't know yet what we're going to do, but I think there might be one last heavy push this year. And then it'll be selling down, consolidating, roll it into commercial. So I don't think this is just going to be a constant, never-ending thing. Yeah. I think it's intentional to make the most of the opportunities, right? And then go into commercial. But the other thing I really want to do this year is focus on the people that I care about to help them move the needle. Like my brother Jace, who listens to the podcast. It's been over the years, I've seen him get interested about property, but he's been doing his own business and they had a property that didn't work out for them. So just hearing the intention from him and seeing him get confident from seeing my story, and even his son, my nephew Lachlan, who's 18, who's like, how the hell do you do this? And just that sort of inspires me to actually help my brother and my partner Jody. She wants to do a couple of deals. And I think to myself, even the thought of that makes me feel better than actually doing another deal for myself. Like, you know what it's like. When you're doing another deal, you're like, fuck, it's just another deal. It doesn't really make you feel any better. But when you see someone and you can actually make a difference in their life, that's what sort of juices me up. So I thought maybe I need to change my tone and go, you know what? Maybe this year is all about trying to lift, a tide rises all boats. Like, this is not just my own journey. How about I help the people that I care about, get them to win? If we all win together, then that's meaningful. So yeah, it's been interesting to really contemplate a few different things.
So you find the goals for yourself are pivoting a little bit more away from yourself. Like, there's still obviously the goal there around it, but you're kind of wanting to give back a little bit more from that end and like help those around you that you can too.
You know why? And I just came to my head while you're saying that is because I don't know how much better I will feel with another 20 properties. So I'm trying to think to myself in the future.
The only thing
I don't know.
Okay, so there's a difference here I just want to challenge you on for a second, right? Is what's your goal? What's your actual ultimate goal that you want to achieve?
Well, my initial goal was to achieve $500,000 passive by the time I was 50. So that's in another 5 years' time.
Yeah, I thought that was 25 years.
Yeah. But then I thought to myself, well, is it a waste of opportunity not to actually push that even further? And I probably will. I mean, it sounds great to have $1 million passive. I mean, who gets to do that? That'd be very blessed to actually do that.
Yeah.
So my stretch goal would probably be, you know what? Well, $1 million passive is not unachievable.
Yeah.
That would be my goal probably, as a stretch goal.
Yeah. So the only thing I'd throw in on that though, right, is like, because obviously you're sitting in an $8 million net equity position. Now, if you were to go through a sell down, you're obviously going to need to, you're going to be paying tax on a decent portion of that as well. And like tax in or relative terms, like it's obviously quite considerably smaller than the amount because of capital gains tax discounts and the rest of the sort of thing that are obviously at play right now. So the question really remains, well, and I know you say even from a vanity side, or you're thinking about it from a vanity side, like is it a vanity side of going out and doing another 20 deals? Do I really need to do it? But then if your goal's 500K initially, and then you're looking to build obviously bigger and better beyond that, like 500K, to put it in perspective, is a circa 8.5, 9, call it a $9 million commercial, just purely, or let's just say cash flowing portfolio, producing 6% net, circa 9 mil owned outright at that amount. Or circa, say 15, I'd say a 30 to 35% LVR as well at the same amount. So you are like in relative terms as well, like you're not that far away from it. If we reduce the tax position out of it as well, you're still obviously a decent component away from it. Now, you own assets that obviously can still go through the growth cycle, but you're still going to need to be able to buy assets in your portfolio 100%. And continue acquiring from them too. So it's kind of shifting from maybe you don't need the 20 in a year, or maybe not even 12 again in a year, but you obviously know and acknowledging you still need to continue accumulating, but you're kind of getting this point of pivoting and realizing you kind of want to give back a little bit from that side too.
I think, I probably should have reframed what I said, because I definitely don't want to stop accumulating, because it's like, well, I'm not near my goal. And also I'd love to have, where we live close to the beach in Melbourne, I'd love to have a 5 mil, beautiful primary residence close to the area that I love. That could even be close to 10 mil. Who knows? Yeah. But it's not getting cheaper.
When this stuff starts to come through in the mix, and like 500K, 500K, it's a lot of money from that end too. But then at the same time, like again, if the primary residence starts to come into it, plus 500K or plus $1 million or something like that net passive, they're big portfolios.
Yeah, 100%.
They're big portfolios. It's interesting though to see the pivot of like you've had 2.5 years of very heavy accumulation, and I know it's almost the summit's almost perfect for Jimmy, guys, because when the summit's coming up, Jimmy knows I'm going to rip him on stage. He hasn't done anything just to take the piss. So he does this mad scramble like the 3 months before the summit, 3 months before the scramble, knowing that he needs to get deals in the system. And so it's an interesting thing and a funny thing. And I guess like something I want to sort of know is how has that changed for you now, or even over the last, let's say 12 months, you 12 deals in 12 months. Like how has that changed for you? Were they in clusters, or were they continuous sort of flow through as well? Like,
well, if I just recap, so when we started in 2020, there was basically 4 deals we did with you. One of them was sort of bridging over to the start of 2021. And then there was also the beach, the house down the coast in Melbourne, which was a a good deal at the time, around COVID time. But then in 2021, when I look at 2021, I only did maybe 1 or 2 deals because it was a bit of a crossover. 2022 was only 2 deals and 2023 was only 2 deals. So when you look at those numbers, they're actually quite low. And I look back and I think there was a lot of wasted opportunity there. And then obviously 2024, there was 6 properties up in the NT and regional Queensland. So there was, I think that was after our conversation when we sort of thought, well, what are you doing? Like I was sort of piss farting around a little bit. And then in 2025, we've gone to 12 properties and already at the start of 2026, there's already 3 done. So when I look back, and I suppose this for people listening, like there's a lot of time there that I wasn't really doing a lot. So the average client that comes on board today, they're doing comfortably a couple of deals a year. Easy. So when I look back in the first,
it's sitting at sort of 2 to 4 is the average per year. So even first timers come in doing 2 deals in a year.
So if you think about the journey that I was on, I really piss farted around a little bit for 2021, 22, 23. There was a couple of reno projects and a few other things and granny builds and a few other things in between that, but there wasn't a lot of activity. And then 2024 was the benefit of stripping out a lot of equity from those first properties that did a lot of growth, plus contributing some capital. So 2024 with those NT deals and also the regional Queensland deals, that was just I realized my bottleneck was getting the pre-approvals and I was really terrible at that. And I need to push a lot harder on my broker, the accountant and so forth. So I think once I got the system of getting the pre-approvals done, the pressure was off because it's in the system.
Yeah.
And then obviously in 2025, it was a game of stop mucking around, stop wasting time, stop procrastinating. Don't worry about buying the property. Focus on doing the little shitty tasks, the 1%ers that we talk about. And so I just went full into broker, pre-approval, using money, getting the velocity of money working for me. So that was the only, and let's not skirt around the issues here. You have to be, to buy 12 properties in 12 months, you have to have a certain level of income. Obviously with my business that I generate a decent amount of money on, you can't just rock up and say, I want to buy 12 properties. You have to have the means to do so. So yes, I am generating a decent amount of income, taxable income from my business that allows me to do this. Yeah. But you still have to put yourself on the field to win.
Yeah.
So last year was all about pushing and just going as hard as I could and busting your balls really and saying, what are we doing? Where should I be buying? And when you said, all right, we'll get 3 in this market, let's push to get more here and let's get it all in place. Once I got that green light, then I went to the broker and said, this is what Sam said, let's get this happening. Yeah. she didn't want to argue with you. And so then things took shape.
Typically a wise path.
Just tell her Sam's got a call with me tomorrow.
That's the one everyone uses.
Suddenly, all of these things just appear when they know Sammy's going to call.
I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why you had such a big stall period during that time frame. Do you remember what it was, or you don't really remember? 2020
changing broker.
No, there was a few different things that sort of went through there, but you became too convinced that you had to continue down the granny flat route, and you didn't see the value around the bread and butters. And I kept trying to smack you around the head around the bread and butters, but you kept wanting to keep hammering down that granny flat route. And I think this is sometimes where people need to understand when our strategy pivots, especially internally within APS. Typically, it's changed because I've pivoted personally my strategy and what I know is going to work best for the clients. And at different times, like we might pivot a strategy or we may pivot literally your strategy, individual strategy, client potentially listening to this, same as yours within this too. And you were so hung up because we'd done so well on those deals, but you weren't listening to me around the time frame it was going to take to execute these deals either continuously, the different price point that it had moved to, or the glaringly obvious piece to me that you were missing growth assets in your portfolio. Yes, your cash flow, your granny flat deals were growing, but what were you going to sell down to pay them off? Yeah. And what were you going to do? Just continually to strip equity from them, continuously to keep funding more deposits and keep funding more granny deals? It didn't make sense. It wasn't until you bought the 2 growth assets in WA, in Perth, and then I feel like it was like a 12, 18-month window post that when they were up like 200 grand in 18 months. And then you're like, oh, fuck, like that's what they're for. And I'm like, dude, imagine if we bought 10 or 20 of those. You start talking about $4 million worth of equity rather than 200 grand, across a singular deal or two. And I think, if I look back at the direct trajectory change between yourself and we look at it again, Look at the first 6 deals you did with me. They were pretty much all granny deals, right? And then all of a sudden, the last 20, 25 odd deals have all been growth assets.
Yeah.
And it's the same as now, like I'm talking to you around the fact that you do need to start to pivot and have some pivot towards more commercial deals in your portfolio. Yes, we need to continue adding in the growth assets within it, but we also need to start building those commercial assets in real time. Because again, and I had this conversation with with mentoring clients all the time, if they wait to accumulate cash flow on the very back end, well, those assets have done X amount of growth in a 5-year window, and all we're doing is selling down in 5 years and then acquiring at that time. You're going to be buying them at pricing at that point in time as well, versus accumulating them now at good deals, at good discounts. And remember, it's like a lot of the time we'll buy in markets where we can't even see replacement value at what we think a deal might be worth, potentially saying commercial, and where we know ongoing economic demand is going to retain in that market as well. Well, that could be a significant difference. If we're talking, let's say 50% over a 5-year window, or even 20% over a 5-year window on a $5 million asset, $2 million on a $5 million asset at the 50%, $2.5 million, right? And like realistically, again, we look at the growth that we have through the residential portfolios too. Very, very reasonable numbers to expect to see come through from that side. And I think this is a thing, man, of like, I look at that change in your portfolio, and I see it with clients now. We try and explain the pivots we might have in strategy, the different deal types we might be going for, the swap into commercial for different clients now. And so often like they might get really hung up on, no, I just need to keep doing this because it's kept working. Yes, and because they've seen it work. And like, yes, we've seen it work, but there's a reason why I pivot strategy.
Yeah.
Always. There's always a reason. If I'm pivoting strategy, it's because something is dying or something isn't as good as what the new strategy potentially is. And a lot of the time people forget, I've had 17 years in the market. I've seen every market boom and bust and go through everything that they've gone through in their timeframes as well. And I've watched and studied cycles for that long. If there's one thing I'm quite good at, it's reading markets and knowing when to pivot into different asset types at different times, right? You've been a beneficiary of that look at the growth over the last 5-year window as well. And I think like people need to understand that, and the same as yourself within your portfolio position as well. And that's why when I look back on it, I know exactly what it is, because it was that deal in Port Kennedy that you didn't want to buy. We look at it now, you pay what, 370, 375?
Yes, 375.
375, and that would be worth
in the eights.
850, 900K now, right?
I know.
And this is where I'm saying, like, this is where, and guys, that's talking 500K, yeah? If you've done 10 of those deals, there's another 5 million in the portfolio. It's
crazy.
20 of those deals, talking 10 mil net added to the portfolio just in those bread and butter deals. There is always a reason why we pivot strategy, especially, it's like the other day, I can't remember where I was, and you messaged me this fucking novel about this deal. And I said, Jimmy, just buy the fucking deal.
Yeah.
I've approved it for you.
It's going in
your portfolio.
Man of few words.
It's a novel.
Yeah.
Jimmy, just buy the fucking deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't sure if I caught you at the wrong time.
But this is where I just like, I think it's really prudent to bring that up. And bro, I never say that. Like, you've obviously done exceptionally well, but I say it also to give the listeners the real-time concept that it is normal to like question strategy changes. It's normal to question, should I be pivoting to this or should I be doing that? Or I don't know if that's the right thing. Like, if we're rolling it out as a business and as a company, it's because we believe it's the best thing to do moving forward. We're so committed. I said on the stage in front of 1,000 people in November that like I will see it as the biggest failure to myself personally if I don't get 500 investors on the stage in 2030. If we pivot strategy, it's for a specific reason to get you on that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where I think, like, again, I look at that and it's just like the perfect snapshot, the perfect synopsis of like a missed opportunity, which you've said there as well, that you're now doubling down on now. And we look at the deals that you did 12 to 24 months ago. Some of those have come close to doubling already.
Yeah, it's probably one of the, that's why when I was looking at it and you're writing it out, there is a massive amount of regret. And that's why I didn't want to seem ungrateful in it. But you have to be reflective enough to be critical of your own performance to realize, well, what did I do wrong?
We learn the most from our failures and we learn the most from our scars. And I rip you on this jokingly, I love you. I'm 17 years in the game. You realistically are only 5 years in the game, right? And you don't see things exactly the way that I do. And that's why you question me on some stuff as well. And man, that's why you get to learn from my mistakes and my scar tissue and the things that I fucked up on, the mistakes that I made and the time I spent out of the market. I look at all these different times that I spent out of the market. I virtually missed the Sydney market if I knew how to buy, if I had someone like me leading them into there, I could have stacked the deck. I bought my first property in 2009, second property in 2012 in Sydney. The market didn't kick until 2013. Imagine if I'd stacked the deck with another 10 of those deals. Not that I myself personally would have the borrowing at the time, but I probably could have got to 4 or 5 there in Sydney, buying in $200,000, $300,000 assets. They're $1 million now.
Yeah.
And I think this is where, man, it's like, this is where people get to learn from that scar tissue piece. And if that pivoting strategy comes in, anyway, I don't want to harp on the fact or dwell too long on that side of things. I just thought it was really prudent to bring up that even yourself, like yourself, you're literally like one of my best mates, and you'll still question me about stuff that I'll do for you. And so it's normal. But especially if you're trusting someone with a decision as important as this, literally if you're trusting them with a decision of that importance, yes, you've got to be realistic and look at it yourself and be comfortable with it from that end. But like, why are we changing? Why are we chasing this sort of thing? Which is a legitimate question to ask. But then at the same time, if they've done what you're looking to do, that's where the trust.
Well, let me ask you this then, just for the benefit of the people here, because obviously, out of all the properties that I've got there, if you take away the place in Dramana, there's essentially 26 bread and butter deals.
Yeah.
Right? So if you know my goal, and just to give people some value, like a quick mini high level strategy of what would you do now? Would it be accumulating more growth properties, or would it be selling off the early bread and butter deals, rolling them into commercial, starting to sell down the portfolio? Because my thing is, well, why don't I just keep accumulating for this year? Because some of those markets have still been, with the recent changes, they've still been kicking. What would you do?
Man, you have a solid number of assets that would be going to market in the next probably between 6 to 18 months. So 6, 12, 18 months, there's a lot of properties you have in the portfolio that I personally would be selling. I do like the idea of continuing to acquire now. I think we're in a decent window. There's a lot of properties that I realistically, actually, timing-wise, probably would have offloaded in the back end of last year. The first home 5% deposit scheme has changed a lot of those markets in terms of the trajectory and how much further we think they have to go, which is a beautiful beneficiary that we all get to benefit from, right? But again, it's something that wasn't really in play there pre that. So again, favored a little bit by fate on that side. But man, I would be watching closely and timing the exits out of probably 3 to 4 of the markets that you're specifically heavily invested in. That is 6 to 12 month window I'd be going to market. And I would be doing a mix. I probably wouldn't be consolidating debt positions. I think you're too early for that, especially with the goal of minimum 500, if not up towards $1 million plus the primary residence. We want to continue accumulating, but do we do a sell down of 10 of 31 and acquire another 20 to 30 straight bread and butters? No. I think the net cash flow position would be too unmanageable for where we are right now. But would I potentially acquire 10 and a nice juicy commercial to balance out the cash flow? Yeah, 100%. But I think you need to start looking towards that balancing sort of piece now of adding in a couple, let's say each year you go through a sell down over the next probably 2 to 3 years. I think you'll be selling, majority of what you got now will be sold off the next 12, 24, 36 months in different stages for different markets. Would I be pivoting a lot of those profits into strategies like that? 100%. If you're selling off 10, I'd probably be reaccumulating in the next growth market for another 10, but then the other half of the profit, I'd be 100%, going and dumping into 60-65% LVR, lease stock loan, 5.5% interest rate on a 6% yielding bulletproof asset on something like that in commercial. Dude, you're going to balance out the cash flow on the 10 that you reaccumulate with that asset. And then all of a sudden, your, let's say 100K per 10 bread and butters that you own is null and void and eliminated. Yeah, and that's why that deal that we talked about at the end of last year that you had on the table for yourself, I think it was circa 88K per annum net passive at that LVR we spoke about. It would have been a perfect little addition into what you were looking to do and eliminate the next, let's say, 6 to 8 to 10 properties put into the portfolio. But at the end of the day, didn't take it. I bought that one, and like I said to you that I would, and man, we can look to play that game now with the consolidation piece moving forward into the rest of the year.
Okay. No, fair play.
That's how I'd look at it, man. And I think it always comes down to the individual. It doesn't sometimes. It always comes down to the individual. Where are they at in their portfolio right now, and what is the correct play for them moving forward to get to their goals and to get to the next phase and to hit the next ceiling? Everyone's scared of hitting the ceilings. I want to hit the fucking ceiling. If I'm not hitting ceilings, I'm not going hard enough. If you go balls to the wall and hit a ceiling in 12 months, sick. All right, fuck yeah. We threw everything at the wall to get where we are. Now we plan the exit to then reaccumulate in the next window. So, man, that's how I would build your portfolio heading into the next phase. And almost anyone now with an established portfolio, whether we're doing, selling 10 to go into that scenario of 10 and a big commercial, or you're selling off 4 and you reinvest into 3 to 4 good resi deals that we're comfortable with, we know we're going to grow, and one commercial somewhere between $1 to $2 million and balance out the cash flows. It's a time to be really smart and strategic to keep building the portfolio moving forward. It's ball to the wall of, well, let's go do fucking 12 bread and butters year on year. And those days are gone because of where interest rates are and with the new lending situations as well. So it's just being intelligent, man, moving forward with a strategic piece.
Yep. No, you hit it on the head, Sammy.
Anything else on the strategy session?
Actually,
I'm going to send you an invoice after this.
Yes, and I won't pay
Kel's
it.
already getting it ready.
And I won't pay it.
That's all good, Matt. Any comms?
I was going to actually ask you.
I'll send it to your dad.
Because early days, we always said with the house and granny deals, we do not sell, right? Don't sell them. The valuation of those deals, and then when we look at opportunity cost, my question to you, Sammy boy, is would you offload a house and granny deal? And I've got 4 juicy ones right here that I'm looking to potentially. So I'm thinking, well, hold on. Am I holding on to this? What kind of yield am I getting with all this shit that you have to deal with? Is there an opportunity to offload them?
So this is a tricky component. And what I'll say is I'll never say never, right? I saw one of my house and granny deals last year, caveat on it. It had performed exceptionally well. It had more than quadrupled in value in 7 years, I think it was. It was a very, very early deal of mine. And man, it was, I wanted to redeploy that into something else. And I redeployed it into the primary residence, right? So I pivoted it into there, but I had very, very low debt on it. I owned it for a very long time. It was in an area I could only legally build a one better. I may have been creative on it. But man, I pocketed something like $600K on that deal and man, just moved it forward. It was also in quite a low socioeconomic area and it just performed so well. And I just decided to take the chips off the table, man, and bank it in. That being said, I would have in the vicinity, I don't know the exact number, somewhere between 25 to 30 house and granny flat deals in the portfolio. Now, what I more than likely will do, probably over the next 12 to 24 months, is pick apart the ones that are the biggest headaches and clip those deals. The 15 potentially that are 20 that are the cleanest, the juiciest, that have no issues, that are just they just continue to perform really, really well. I more than likely won't sell those. And, their majority are between a mix of Perth and Brisbane. Now, the Perth ones are typically significantly better builds. You're talking double brick, low set brick, 5 minutes to the beach, 30 to 40 minutes from Perth CBD. The grannies are all brick on slab as well. They're really, really high quality assets that rent really well too. So it's just I probably won't sell those. Again, unless it gets to crazy times or I go crazy offer and I think I redeploy it into something better. But there's probably 5 to 10 in Brisbane that I would consider. Brisbane, the one big thing about Queensland is, and everyone talks about the land tax component and the lower yields in Victoria. And I agree completely. I don't agree completely on the land tax side of things. It's actually very, very nominal. It's a very small amount, but the yields are shit, right? But when you swap over to the yields in Queensland, yes, they're good, but your insurance is significantly higher and your council rates are significantly higher. It evens out, or almost evens out on a net buy for buy basis. It goes very, very close to actually evening out buy for buy on what they are. So it's one of those things, the ones that don't have the additional maintenance headache and ongoing bullshit, just of properties that are 50, 60, 70 years old, high set weatherboards that were built in the 70s and 80s, that are just a bit of headaches at this point in time. They're the deals that I probably will look to offload. And a lot of those deals, man, I might have bought them for sub 300,000, and bought them bought them for circa 300K. I might have built for 120 to 150K max for a granny. And they were all valuing at 1.1 to 1.2 mil, which I'm sure is pretty similar to your sorts of numbers that you're looking at here. So what I probably would say is if there are any, this is in your scenario here, if there's any there that are and the other caveat on this side of things is I do like to hold a certain amount of cash flow if I can in resi, because you think about it, if I have, let's say 20 deals owned outright and then netting me 50K per asset, that's $1 million net from resi. I don't mind that. And they're in a capital city. They're all in highly demand locations. I've got multiple income streams on each property. I like that. Especially if I'm building towards a very significant amount of net cash flow overall. I don't want it to all be in commercial either. So I like having that. I like having that split. And for you, man, I might look at something very similar with that. Make sure, if that's making up, let's say your target's 500K or $1 million and it's making up, 100, 150, 200K in time of that income amount. Like,
It's
would
a
you
good
want to
split.
completely stand out?
Yeah,
I don't
probably.
mind it as a split. But if there's something that was like a pure headache and that was causing you issues and just again and again and again, it was just like a problem property, right? We anyone that builds a really big portfolio, you're going to cop a couple lemons in there.
Yeah.
It's just like unavoidable. It's unavoidable that over time you're going to cop a couple lemons in a 10 plus property portfolio. You're going to get one. And ultimately, if it's part of a ongoing cash flow property, it's not an asset you want to hold. You know, if it's a bread and butter asset, like again, we cop those as well. Occasionally you cop a lemon, you can't help it, you can't predict it. Things weren't picked up in the building and pests. You just kind of get these ongoing issues with. Then yeah, man, like they're easy enough because you know you're going to clip them at the top of the market. It's cost of doing business, you're going to get in, get out. But when it comes to cash flow, like if it's going to ongoingly hurt you from that perspective and just cause you issues and headaches, it's not worth it, man. You know, on some of those, and it's worth considering clipping it, especially in that scenario.
Yeah, my gut feel is to keep them. I mean, when you think of the bigger portfolio you want to keep as a hedge, and like what you're saying, 4 house and grannies isn't a massive amount.
No.
But, you know, debt-free, 150 to 200K.
If it was 8 to 10 of them, like you go, you know what? I'd probably be open to clipping 2 to 4 of those deals. Like I'd pick like 1, 2 that are like the full dogs, and I'd definitely clip them at the top. And then I'd maybe consider another 1 or 2. But 4, man, I'm with you. Like debt-free, we're probably talking pretty close to 200K. I don't mind that as a backup split.
Actually, what just something that just came to mind is that we've got a property in WA that has granny potential that we bought pretty low at 300 grand, 320.
Yeah, I'm not building on that.
No, however, there are some spruikers out there that their whole strategy is that they will do house and grannies. And
Anyone's
they're paying
talking about doing house and grannies and like, you know, you're achieving sub 6%. Like if you're achieving sub 7% on a house and granny, like don't even look at it because it's not even netting 5. If someone's doing a house and granny deal in the 5s or at 6%, like you're netting 3.5 to 4%. Like what is the point of doing that deal? A granny deal is supposed to be for cash flow. And if that's the best that you're getting on that end, like it's not even worth having a conversation around.
Fair enough.
It's not even worth having a conversation around.
Okay.
So mate, on that, and I guess like to recap in the portfolio, you got the 31 properties total. You got 35, all right, one of them's on a rental. Let's just say 35 rentals on that side. You're sitting at 22 mil portfolio value, 14 mil debt position, 8 mil equity, in some very, very strongly positioned market to continue to really outperform over the next 12, 24, 36 months. What's next, man? I know like I broke down what I would do, but what's next in terms of what you want to do as well in this next sort of run?
Well, as I said to you at the start, I would like to push the needle this year and go as hard as I can. I haven't sold off all of my shares, which I'm planning to do. So I'm going to liquidate all of those, use up all of that cash. I will, in order to have an aggressive push this year, I will need to refinance some of the deals that I probably did in 2024 to pull out some more equity. Yep. So do a massive push on that and then really strategize which of the properties that I'm going to sell and really think about that carefully when leases are ending and just making sure I'm selling at the right time and the right setup. So it'd be really strategizing that piece, which is super important, as you know.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, I think that's essentially on a very high level what I'm planning to do.
Something I'm curious about as well, I meant to ask you this earlier when we're kind of running through the other pieces, but something I'm curious about is you built a $22 million property portfolio, right? 31 properties within it.
I know what you're going to ask me.
What am I going to ask you?
About the Lexus.
That was coming, but that's not this piece, but that is coming. That is coming.
All right.
How is your risk tolerance changed? Are you more aggressive? Are you more conservative? Right now compared to 2.5 years ago at 10 properties, you're at 31 now.
You know, it's really interesting about risk. It's a funny thing. And for people, most of our listeners will know that when COVID happened, I lost a lot of money and I know what that feels like. And I think when you lose a certain amount of money, not that your fear diminishes, but you realize you're going to be okay. So you really have to reconcile, would I rather have a crack and put all the chips on the table and be prepared to lose? Or would I keep my powder dry? My nature just naturally is to have a crack. I'd rather swing for the fence and, you know, die on my feet than live on my knees, so to speak. So my risk appetite, it's funny, I feel the more properties I own, the less risky I become. I feel I'm risky when I don't own enough.
Yeah.
Because if I own more, I can sell more. So I feel like I need to stretch myself in order to, you know, life begins out of your comfort zone. It's like almost buy more to actually de-risk.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting concept.
I mean, you know that, right? I learned it from you. So it's almost like, do I feel I'm flying very close to the sun at the moment? 100%. Does that make you feel a little bit uncomfortable? It does. Do I feel I've got a lot of confidence in my business and that's growing and we're generating more income? So I have that backup. If there was a lot of insecurity around that, or if I had a real young family and all the pressures of that, maybe I would reassess. But I almost also feel that I owe it to people who aren't in the position to actually have a crack. And that might sound a little bit odd, but it's almost like I hate wasting opportunities, and that's what really plagues you. You know, regret weighs ounce. What is it? Failure weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. And so, having wasted so much time over the last 20 years of investing, I almost feel like this is the time to really make it work. I've got a great opportunity. Don't waste it. So I'm not going to let anything get in that way. And to be fair, this might sound silly, but Sammy, if I lost it all, and this might sound really flippant, but if I lost it all, I wouldn't regret it because I've had a crack. And I know that's easy to say, but because I've had a crack and given it your best shot, that's so much easier to reconcile than to go, I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
So yeah, mate, I'm more bullish than ever. If anything, I want to take on more risk.
What's the worst deal you've had?
Mate, I'd have to say the property in Toowoomba, purchased at great price, low threes, back in Feb 2023. But I think it's one of those properties that, yes, the first 12 months there's issues, and this SOB has just constantly, every time I've got an alert when this property manager messages me, I always seem to have some issues with this particular property and it constantly plagues me. The reality though is obviously valuation wise, I'd have to say, I mean, you'd know better than me, probably sitting in the high fives. What would you say? Mid to highs?
Yeah, no, the deal, obviously talking off here just then about which one you're talking about as well. Yeah, I'd probably say pretty close to 6. That's got development potential as well. So I think like the combination around that, it's like you're probably talking, high fives, close to 6.
Yeah.
Drop 250K in 2 or 3 years with the ability to I think chop it back off and build a duplex, is it from memory?
Yeah. So it's the best, worst. I mean, you can't really complain about something like that, but it is a constant pain in your ass.
And I think this is the thing of like, we talk about before of like these assets that give you problems over time. And I think this is where you really have to make sure you're always buying in the correct market, because you buy in the wrong market with that. And if that thing was like giving you that sort of headache and doing nothing like that, you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't be able to stomach it like that. You probably would have clipped it by now, right?
It'd be horrendous.
But knowing that it's continuing to grow and will continue to grow as well. When you've done 250K in 3 years, we're talking 80K a year capital growth on those 25% year on year. That's sweet, man. That's obviously stomachable from that side. So yes, it's a pain in the ass from that side, but you got this upside and potential dev upside on it as well. Man, obviously there's some pretty good benefits around that too.
Yeah. Best deal? I'm going to split it very quickly into 2.
Go.
The first one is the one you try to talk me out of, the one in Port Kennedy.
Try to talk you out of it, dickhead.
No, that one, because that actually showed me the true power of bread and butter deals.
Yes. Yeah.
Great location, close to the beach.
Oh, man,
done absolutely nothing. Actually, do you remember it was a 3-2?
Yeah, you converted it into a 4-2. The one
converted,
yeah, I remember.
And increased the rent.
It's a nice looking home too. I like that home.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's in a beautiful little area court. That is an absolute cracking deal, and I'm spewing. I don't have more of those. But the one that I actually loved, the 17. Well, in Crestmead, it was a property that was probably the ugliest granny flat deal that I had. It was the worst performing. And
I hunted the ugliest deal in Brisbane for the ugliest bloke in Melbourne.
And it's worked out to be the best deal.
It's a match made in heaven.
So this one was all about stacking the deck. And we spoke about this in the other podcast, but bought the house, did a quick little reno, built the granny. Couple of years later, went back, executed a house lift and a few other little things, and we doubled the rent on the front house. And I think that together is probably renting around $1,100 or even close to $1,200.
Yeah.
It is an absolute stonker.
Anytime recently. Well, because they would have to be selling at like a 6.5% yield. You know what I mean? Which if it's selling at that.
Well, when I spoke to the property manager previously, she's actually exited her business. Yes. So congratulations to her. But she was saying similar properties were selling close to $1 million. Yeah. So
I think you get over $1 million.
You'd have to
because of that,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, it's nuts. And what that would have cost you? We paid $275 for the house.
Total would have been low 4s.
Yeah.
Full construction, everything.
Yeah. That's
actually
wild,
no.
It would have been closer to 5.
Yeah, with the
lift
house
and build
lift,
under. Yeah. Because you would have bought what, $275 from memory? It was $275.
Yeah, $275.
$275 plus the bill would have been $115, $120.
Yeah,
So you're talking-
120, 5 grand reno up front, then
so you're talking
about
low
80 grand.
fours, and then so you're probably talking about 500K all in. And that's doubled, and it's sitting at a
$1,200 a week
It's
rent.
sitting at it's sitting at like a 12% yield.
That's crazy.
It's massive, man. That's massive.
So that's the Bobby Dazzler of the group.
The Bobby Dazzler.
And that was the first, Sammy.
That
the
was
first
the
one,
first
yes,
deal too.
the
It was.
first.
We came back and executed the double decker.
Yeah.
The big double whammy further down the track. But yeah, man, first deal. I love that. Dude, if you could, I'm curious as well. If you could look back at the portfolio too, just as a bit of a reflection, what wouldn't you do again?
I wouldn't do as some of the renos that I did, and would have better deployed the capital into more deals, probably.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest lesson I would have taken.
And not waited as long.
And definitely not waited as long and done more bread and butter deals. It kills me to look at those markets and think you are an absolute idiot, James, for not jumping on the opportunity when I had the chance. But you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. And I think the reality is that time frame should give a lot of clients confidence to know you can't just rock in and start smashing it out of the park. You got to do the time and you got to earn the right. So it was a lesson that I needed to learn.
Mm-hmm. You go back to 20-year-old Jimmy, 18, 20, 21-year-old Jimmy. Tell him anything. What are you going to tell him?
I would have beaten up Sammy, who would have been 10 years of age.
I still probably would have flogged you. I still would have flogged you.
The best thing I would have said to 20-year-old Jimmy is have a crack, bite off more than you can chew, because you have plenty of time to make it work should it not work out.
Yeah.
You are always going to have the chance. You are meant to have a period of time where you stuff things up, because the reality is you're either going to work it out and figure out and surprise yourself, or you're going to fail. You're going to learn super fast and you're going to adjust, and then you're going to enact the right strategy. The problem I did when in my 20s, I was piss fighting around, too scared to make a decision. So 100%, I would slap him on the head, tell him to stop eating all the kebabs and baklava and get out there and execute.
Hit the gym.
Execute. I would have said, I don't care what you do not come home unless you have executed, done something. Don't tell me about it. Don't talk about it. Don't listen. Don't read. Don't go and watch that. Go and do something. I don't care if it doesn't work. Do it and then come back. That's what I would have said.
I love it. Would you also tell me to hit the gym a bit more?
Well, you couldn't, mate. If you had looked at my abs when I was 20, I was very poor form, to be fair. I would have told myself, I went on cruise ships when I was 20, Sammy. So the transitioned a period of time. But anyway, we digress.
I love it, mate. I've obviously taken a huge amount away from today's podcast as well, man. I think it's been epic, dude. I think like probably the biggest things that I took away from it, looking back, man, is I think like it's so funny because we all in hindsight, like even myself, man, with the size, 100 plus properties in the portfolio, I always look back and I'm just like, fuck, I should have gone harder. I should have done more. I should have done this. Same as like you with the windows you sort of see. I saw the same things in my portfolio when I look back even now, man. And I think it's like, it's a scar tissue. And I think that the takeaway from this thing, the lesson from this thing is it's very normal and natural. I literally had a client this week message me and I looked at the last time I spoke to them. And they messaged me as if we were old mates and we chatted last week. It was fucking 2022. And I'm like, dude, like I haven't heard from you in fucking that long. I think I bought him 2 deals that would have done about 150, 200% in that time frame. One in Brizzy, one in Perth. And man, I look at these times, they kind of wrote in, haha, like I know I've been a bit slack. And I'm just like, dude, that's not funny. It's so funny. Like being slack is a fucking understatement, brother. You just missed the last fucking 3-4 years of this market doubling, this market doubling, this market doubling. And I think like understanding how important that is, but then looking back at yours and I think seeing the scar tissue that you would have felt by looking back and going, fuck. And I reckon when we did that podcast 2.5 years ago, I reckon that was almost a turning point looking back going, fuck, I missed some genuine windows. But the lesson, the takeaway that I took from it was like, you saw that, then you doubled down and you did, I think it was 10-ish or 8 or 9 or something in 2024. You did 12-ish or whatever it was in 2025. You know what I mean? Like you've had the scar tissue, you've looked back on it, you haven't let it defeat you or deter you or go, fuck, I've missed the booms or rest sort of thing. You've just doubled down on it and you've gone all in. And I think like one of the biggest lessons takeaways can ever pass on anyone, same as you saying, just get out there, execute, have a go, have a crack. It's like anyone starting this journey and starting out. And the really cool thing is we launched a second intake of mentoring last week. Huge amount of clients coming through, committed to getting on that stage in 2030. And what so many people don't realize is like embracing and going all in on this thing is how you get there. It's how you do change the whole trajectory of everything. And you can hit a retirement in a 5-year window, 4, 5, 7-year window by doing things like this and going all in. And like we were talking about earlier, the average client comes in and does 2 to 4 deals a year in their first year, and then second year, and then third year. And it's like that compounding effect of actually getting off your fucking ass and pulling the trigger and holding yourself accountable to 91-day valuations. And again, and again, and again, regardless if you get a shit val at 91 days and a shit val at another 90 days and another shit val, it doesn't fucking matter, because what will happen is the compounding time frame and effect of that is eventually it will pay off. Eventually you will get that uplift, and then you can strip it out. And it might be at 90 days, or it could be at 180 or 270 or whatever it is down the track that you can pull out, roll into the next one. But ultimately, the more you do it, the more you push, the more you keep moving this needle and keep pushing it from that perspective, it will snowball until all of a sudden it's a fucking avalanche, and you're doing 9 properties a year, you're doing 12 properties a year, you're doing 50 properties a year, whatever the fuck it is that you want to do. But it all starts with starting and executing and then buying and then doing as quickly as you can to keep pushing it. Sometimes it'll come off in the exact time frame you want. Sometimes it won't. That's part of the fucking journey. It's the same as the pain is when the property manager, that you know that property manager from fucking Toowoomba, they call you, you know there's an issue and you'd fucking dread it. It doesn't matter. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the bigger game. And what everyone focuses on, I think this is what breaks most people in the journey that get stuck at 1 or 2 properties, is they focus on the pain that they feel now. They go, oh, fuck, this is hard. Not understanding that the time frame and what happens to you as a person, it's like all the greatest in the world, they all say it's not the destination, it's a journey. And what that actually means, it's not enjoying the fucking journey, it's who you become along the way that becomes unbreakable, unshakable, a completely different human to who you are at the start. So if the journey's not fucking enjoyable, let's be honest, it's an absolute piece of fucking shit. But who you become on that way is insurmountable. It's indestructible, right? And that's how you can get to, 31 properties. And then you have these realizations of this. It was me getting to 54 and having that one paradigm fucking shift of like, okay, sweet, I need to change what I do right now because I can't keep going the way I'm going now, and turned it completely into a business lesson and a view of looking at a property portfolio like a business. It is as simple as that. And when you look at it like that, and when you keep treating it like that, and you just keep not letting things dissuade you and sway you from your path, you will win. And these ideas of, hitting whatever your goal is in a 3, 4, 5, 7-year window, whatever it is, they become very fucking real when you chase it like that and when you don't let things dissuade you from that path. So the lesson and the takeaway from this thing, exactly like Jimmy said there, and we've run through in this whole journey, is not letting things dissuade you, learning from time out of the market, or hopefully you haven't, and you're learning from us and our time out of the market and other people that have had their time out of the market. Almost everyone says their biggest regret is not buying more earlier. I've got about 130 odd properties. My biggest regret in the journey is not buying more properties earlier. So don't sit on the sidelines. Don't let the extra month pass. Because if you instead of doing it 90 days, you do it at 120, well, all of a sudden, you only got 3 vals in this year because you did them every 120 days instead of 90 days. So you missed out on a valuation, right? That could have been a property this year, because when you stack the deck, it could have been multiple shots. That means every year you could have been missing a property, right? Because you're doing 3 vals instead of 4, doing it 4 months rather than 3. That means in 5 years, you could have missed 5 properties. 5 properties on average are probably going up 250, 300K a year. Let's just go bottom end of that and say 200K a year. That laziness, because let's call it for what the fuck it is, that laziness of not just doing those vals every 90 days in that scenario just costs you $1 million. When you're laid out like that, you don't really want to miss a val, do you? You don't want to really miss that 90-day mark. That's why there is so much importance around learning from the scar tissue of this, whether it's your scar tissue or whether it's my scar tissue or whether it's an individual scar tissue. Learn from this thing. Don't make those mistakes that you and I have both made, and implement accordingly moving forward. We're very early in 2026. I hope this gives people the motivation. Like, I think your portfolio breakdown, man, and what you've done in the last 2.5 years is crazy. But I hope it gives people the breakdown, the motivation, the clarity around how important this thing is. I said it when I was on stage at the summit. I can't sign your fucking loan docs. I'm not going to order your valuations. I'm not going to fucking answer your property manager's phone calls or keep pushing this thing forward. It's up to you. But it depends. Do you want to hit your goals or are you going to be half-assed at this thing and not get there? It's down to every individual. Learn from the scar tissue. Learn from the lessons. What are you taking from these fucking podcasts if you're not taking this shit that you can apply to your journey and win? Otherwise, exactly like you said, to what you would tell your 20-year-old self, if you're going to go listen to all the fucking information, implement or stop fucking listening. Go enjoy your life. Stop fucking around trying to pretend to be this person. Either be this person and commit and go all in and get the result or don't. That's all I got to say, Jimmy.
Mate, you nailed it.
I don't know,
that was
one takeaway turned into a 5 minute.
No, I like it. There's nothing more to say than that, Sammy boy. You hit it right on the head. It's funny because when you're saying it's who you become is what you get to keep. You know, the properties will come and go and you'll sell them, but who you become.
You know, I never understood that. Did you understand that from the very start?
You know what? I mean, I'm 10 years older than you. So I think probably I learned that lesson just through going through some shit things. But
when you heard that, the very first time you heard that, did you realize the genuine meaning?
No.
Right, when I thought it was meant you were supposed to enjoy the journey. The journey's fucking shit.
With little rays of sunshine here and there.
Typically every 90 days. But even then, it might be a fucking rain cloud.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Man, that's the fucking harsh reality of the thing. But it's who you become.
Yeah.
The journey is just like the creator of who you're going to become. Don't expect to enjoy it, but you will enjoy who you are in 12 months, 24 months,
the
5
most
years,
rewarding.
17 years, however long you
know, every young client that I get on the phone with, and they think I'm being flippant with this, but I say, I would trade places with you in a fucking heartbeat. I would give you every single one of my properties. They go, nah, you're full. I said, dude, you don't understand that time is the number one thing you can't replace. I'll give you everything because if I'm starting out at 25 or 30 or even 35, I know what I could do between then and when I started and where I could be today. So don't waste time. Don't waste time. Do something about it. Do it. Execute. Execute is just so important, but you don't want to execute blindly. You got to find the right people. The only reason why I executed so hard and really went double down is because I had a blueprint following you. It wasn't as if I did it on my own. That's very important, right? Don't go and be stupid. You need to follow something that works. So you have to have the right education, the right team, the right strategy, and then execute. Execute's the final piece. So, mate, I think you nailed it on the head. I think it's a good wake-up call for people starting out in 2026, feeling sorry for themselves. I didn't do this, or you know what, I'm not doing that. I'm just sharing with you my story, and obviously that's just what's happening for me. Doesn't mean I've got it all right. I'm just going through my own shit as like everyone else.
Can I ask you something? Just touching on the point we were talking about before and exactly what you doubled down on there with me, with what I brought up as well. 2.5 years since the last time we did the portfolio on you. We did the top 1% at the start of last year, but 2.5 years ago, we did your portfolio update. How much do you reckon you've changed as an individual in the last 2.5 years?
Significantly, yeah.
I'm a different person.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, completely different. I still got the same car.
I was going to bring the Defender up, but I was like, you know what? He's going to disappoint me once again.
Well, you know what? It's funny because the more and more, I love coming up here with Sammy and we've got all the toys and I get to go into all the cars and it sort of fills the void. But then when I go home, I actually always question myself, well, do I need a new car? And my car is probably worth, I probably could maybe sell it for 20, 25 grand. But it's almost become a little bit of a badge of honor that it actually doesn't mean anything to me. And that's not to be a hero, but it's actually comfortable. My partner, Jody, she's got a Range Rover. I always give her crap that my car is more comfortable than hers. The seats, I don't know. But I just think in time, yes, 100% I'll get a nicer car. Is it filling a void in me that it's going to make me feel better? Probably not. Do I need to prove anything to anyone else? Probably not. Does it keep me humble? Absolutely. Do I deserve a nicer new car? Yes. I'm trying to buy more properties and I'd rather buy another property than buy the car. So who knows? I mean, I'm not too fussed to be fair, but I think it's a good lesson because some clients I get on the phone with, they've got an $80,000 car. They haven't bought a property. I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
It makes no sense.
What are you doing?
For anyone who needs a wake-up call around that, go back, listen to Bailey's episode, sold his car, literally started his journey, did 3 properties in 12 months. Like these are the things that are possible, guys, when you start to change the dynamic, you start to change the actual paradigm shift of what you're doing out there. We've got a lot of new clients coming on, we've got a lot of new investor stories coming up as well with very sort of similar stories and big wins in that regard too. So I think it's going to be a really interesting sort of run this year specifically, man. Just in terms of the different podcasts are going to be coming out. We're going to be taking a bit of a different tack on it as well, guys. Like I want to bring some different things that you guys are really going to love. We know you're loving your investor stories. Hence with Jimmy and I sort of starting with ours to start this year. And we've got a lot of other really cool stories coming through. But you're going to say, mate?
I was just going to touch on one last thing when you're talking about changing, right? And changing as a person.
Yeah.
And I think some people listening to this are going to feel fear about changing and like, I don't want to change who I am. But it's a natural evolution of changing. Embrace. You should actually be saying to yourself, I want to be completely different in the next year or 2 years or 5 years or whatever. Because then you're opening the opportunity to actually what is available to you. So change is great. Don't be fearful and scared of changing because then you're going to stay the same.
Mate, there's an old saying, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? If you're not changing, which effectively, if you're not changing, right? If you're not growing, you're not evolving, you're dying. Because you're staying the same and the same gets outpaced, right? It's like inflation. If you just have $100 in the bank, every single year it's actually devaluing because of inflation. That is the same as all of us as individuals. If we're not all growing, if we're not all evolving, we are devaluing over time. Everything's moving past us. So if you stay at the exact same level, you will be overtaken, right? It's as simple as that, man. So if you're not growing, you're dying. You got to keep pushing forward. And man, like I look at myself, like I was happy with who I was 2.5 years ago, but I'm a lot happier with who I am now. There's things I look back at then and go, you know what? I definitely would change those things about myself. I'm not happy with how I am now. I'm more evolved. I've done a lot more as well with my life as well. So it's a cool thing, man. I know you have as well. And we've got different viewpoints in the world. Even, man, the same as both of us, almost like we're both now pivoting towards really wanting to be able to give back to people as well. And it's the same as, man, the mission. Like I had a fair few times last year where I really considered, do I want to keep doing this thing? You know, do I want to keep the doors open at APS? Am I ready to throw in the fucking towel? Like I was done with a lot of different things and ready to throw it in. And I quite simply had made the mission of retiring 500 Australians by 2030, let alone all the staff at APS I'd be letting down by doing the same thing. And it's just like, man, that has really set this crazy North Star for me in terms of what we're chasing, both as an organization and something I can hold myself accountable to as well, which, man, excites me. You know what I mean? And now it's something really purpose-driven that I can go and chase. Same as you trying to help, your family, get them all in and around it. Now that's me on the biggest scale real scale in my mind than it's ever been there before in terms of helping these people achieve this thing as well. It's what a legacy, man. What a legacy to leave behind, So Dude, I love it, man. This has been a cool ep, man. Like insightful, Obviously, you've done exceptionally well, man. But even like recapping and reflecting on a lot of the different things of the both of us in the last 2.5 years and beyond. Yeah, mate, I've loved it. We didn't know how it was going to go. So hopefully people have gotten some value out of this and thinking about how they can apply it to themselves. For sure. And don't get into the trap of thinking, I'm never going to do that, or telling yourself the bullshit story. Focus on where you are at. Right? Put the blinkers on, focus on what, even if you're starting out and you haven't even got your deposit, don't be defeated thinking I'll never do that because you will. You just have to start where you're at. Yeah. Right? So put the blinkers on, focus on the first step. I've been there. We've all been there. So don't let this disempower you. Let it empower you of what is possible if you take the necessary steps. Yep. And if you want it bad enough, it's either are you interested or committed to what you want? That's a really important point. Nothing is owed to you. Yeah. You do not deserve to earn passive income or retire. Go out and get it. And if you don't go and get it, that's okay, but be comfortable with where you're at. Don't make excuses. I've made all the excuses in the world. That's why I can say it, because it shitted me to tears and it makes my blood boil even thinking about it. But I stuffed up so many times. So if you're out there, no matter if you're 1, 5, 10, 20, or even more, go and reach your potential. Reach your potential of what is possible for you, for your loved ones, for your family, for your legacy, or whatever it is that drives you, because you bloody deserve it. Jimmy, it's a beautiful footnote, mate. I appreciate it. It's an amazing wrap up, man. Thank you for sharing. As always, man, being raw and real, especially with your own journey as well. I'm sure the listeners were taking a lot of value out of today's episode, man. So thank you very much. Pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Listeners, if you did take some great value out of today's episode, as always, please send this on to someone else you also think would love today's episode, take some value out of it, and be able to apply to their own investing journey as well. And until next week, guys, it's another Scouting Australia podcast.